What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. In my last video I mentioned that I thought Rammus was overpowered, so I'm here today to show you all why I think he's so good, and then I'm going to transition into a bit of a guide so you all can have a blast with Rammus too. For starters, in my last video I said that there are 3 things that make a jungler good in this meta, so let's bring up that chart again and see how Rammus stacks up. His Powerball allows him to get through early game wards. His ultimate allows him to do ridiculous AoE damage, and his taunt is tied for the longest CC in the game at 3 seconds, along with his Powerball having a mini knockback. In other words, Rammus passes the test with flying colors, which is why I thought to give him a chance in the first place, and boy was I pleased with the results. Now, all that is great, but where are the results? Where's the hard data showing that Rammus is actually a strong pick in solo queue? Look no further than the win rates. For at least a month now, Rammus has been in the top 10 win rates of solo queue for all elos, though even with his success, his popularity still hovers around 4%. You could argue that because of his low popularity, the sample size isn't high enough to come to this conclusion, but given that he's held a position for a month now, I think it's safe to say he deserves to be there. Now that we've gone over all the boring stuff, let's look at his abilities to get an idea of what we're doing before we hop into some gameplay footage. Rammus's passive Spiked Shell converts 25% of his armor into bonus attack damage. This is what allows Rammus to scale into the late game, and it also gives him a nice boost of damage from defensive ball curl. Powerball is Rammus's 1-point wonder that allows him to speed around the map and ram to the butts of his enemies. He moves so fast in this form that if the enemy doesn't have wards spotting you from a long way ahead of time, you're going to speed by way too fast for them to react in time. Defensive ball curl is what makes Rammus so tanky, and it's his main tool for clearing the jungle. If you want to be an ultra mega tank early on and clear the jungle as fast as possible, maxing this ability is your best bet. Remember that because of Spike Shell, defensive ball curl grants you anywhere from 10 to 30 bonus attack damage, which is a nice bonus considering you're already getting tons of armor and magic resist on top of the Thorns damage. Puncturing taunt is really the staple of Rammus and what makes him so strong. It's tied for the longest CC in the game at 3 seconds, but something that people often forget is that it's not just a CC like Fiddlestick Sphere. It also reduces the armor of the target by 30, which allows you and your team to rip apart the taunted enemy to shreds. I highly suggest you max this skill first because it gives you the best early game ganking presence, which is really what Rammus excels at. Rammus's ultimate, Tremors, is probably one of the most underrated skills in the game. I'm going to compare him to Fiddlesticks again because it's kind of like a mini Crowstorm. It only does about 100 less damage overall at each rank, and the cooldown is significantly shorter, enabling it to be up for every fight guaranteed. Sure, it takes 3 more seconds to get the full damage, and the radius is shorter, but you also don't have to channel for 1.5 seconds before it goes off. Not to mention, Tremors is also able to do damage to towers, which allows Rammus to fit in right with the current meta of fast tower pushing. For runes, I use flat AD marks, flat armor seals, scaling MR glyphs, and movement speed quintessences. For masteries, I go all the way down the utility tree and put the remaining 9 points into the defensive tree. The defensive tree is good for Rammus as well, but in my opinion, defensive ball crawl already makes him incredibly tanky, so there's no real need to overdo it by going into the defensive tree so much. The utility tree gives you some extra gold generation and extra experience, which is vital to Rammus because he's an incredibly slow farmer. Also, cooldown reduction and movement speed skyrockets Rammus' early game potential to ridiculous heights. For summoner spells, I like to take Flash and Smite. Obviously, as a jungler, Smite is necessary, and Flash allows you to flash Powerball combos, which lead into a 3-second taunt if your enemy doesn't flash preemptively. And, of course, Flash is useful for many other things such as flashing over walls or dodging spells. When you get into the game, you want to buy your machete in 5 pots and get to your jungle as soon as possible. You have the advantage of having an Explorer's Ward, which gives you a few extra options. Usually I prefer to ward the entrance to my wraiths and start at my blue buff, but if you're playing against a champion that you think is going to invade your second buff level 2, then you can start blue, ward the entrance to your wraiths afterwards, and then do your second buff while you have the Explorer's Ward, giving you a little bit of extra vision. The good thing about going to the utility tree is that you can hit level 3 by doing a buff, wolves, and wraiths, whereas without the extra experience boost, you would still only be level 2. Red buff isn't very important to Rammus, so if the enemy invades your red buff at level 1, definitely don't try to counter invade and take theirs. It's not worth the risk, and you can hit level 3 very easily otherwise thanks to your utility masteries. But all the mind games aside, your normal jungle path, assuming no invades or other shenanigans, is to simply do your first buff without smite, and then go immediately to your next buff. This will give you level 3 and enable you to pull off some sick early ganks. Now that we have the basics down, I'm going to hop into some gameplay footage of a recent Rammus game I had in Ranked and show you how the early game is played out. I'm going to be commentating it as I see it because I don't really know any other reliable way to do it, so hopefully it turns out okay. Okay, so here I'm just finishing off my blue buff. I decided to go red into blue this time, and I'm looking for somewhere to gank. I usually like to gank bottom at level 3 just because, snowballing bottom is really good. Unfortunately, this ward spots me. I see Cho'Gath there. I didn't know if he saw me or not, so I figured, screw it, I'm just going to go anyway. But they have really good ward coverage, and they see me coming. So here I have faster move speed than Cho'Gath, so I'm going to get to mid before he does. Cho'Gath's doing a really good job of mirroring my movement here, but ultimately it's just not going to be enough, as we see each other and I say screw it, and I just powerball straight to Lee Sin. And I get there way before Cho'Gath does because of powerball, and by the time he gets there it's just too late. Lee Sin's gonna die to red buff and ignite here, and the rest of this is just me screwing around with Cho'Gath. The only real time that you want to do your jungle is when you have smite up as Rammus, because it just takes so long to clear a jungle. So right there I clear with smite and get level 4, and I look to go top here. You can see if you look at the minimap, you can see his team pinging up because they just had a ward at Wraith, so they see me coming up. Plus he has a ward in the brush here. So he sees me coming up, but I don't really care at this point. I just want to deny him CS. If I pause right here and you look up at the top right, you can see how huge his minion wave is. Basically what that means is that his minions are going to be killing our minions very quickly, which means he's going to be losing more and more XP the more time that he's away from those creeps. So you're going to see me here, I'm just going to stay up here for as long as possible and be really annoying. You see he already lost a full wave right now, and he's about to lose even more because I come in again, and he's losing another wave right now. And I decide to give it up after this. And I go back mid because I see an opportunity here. One of the ranged minions decides to play hero here and try to stop me. But I eventually get around. Unfortunately, he safeguards through, which is super annoying. And Akali has to blow her flash to pick up the kill, but that's okay. After this, I just immediately go top again, because this guy's not going to expect me to come top again for the 3rd time. And by the time he sees me, it's just too late. That ward is not far enough down the river to help him, and we pick up a kill here. And at this point, the game is pretty much already snowballed out of control. Flash powerball, he can't react with his own flash because it's too fast. And yeah, game is pretty much snowballed out of control here. You can see that the time is about to run out on the clip. But after this, I believe I went bottom again, ganked bottom. We got a double kill there, and then I just ganked mid again, and Akali just got super fed. And that's pretty much what you want to do as Rammus. And one thing I want to point out here is, before I end, is that if you look at the creeps, I have 11 CS, Cho'Gath has 26. But if you look at the XP, we're the same exact level, and we're actually the same exact amount into the level as well. I mean, you can't see it in this video, but yeah. So really, the XP masters from utility help you out a ton, because Rammus is just he just really doesn't do his jungle, honestly. And I have smite up here again, so I'm going to go do golems and then go back to base, and I head bottom, and that's how you play Rammus. In terms of the late game, there's really not much to say. As Rammus, you typically want to be in the backlines taunting the AD carry or the AP carry, but if there's an assassin bodying your AD carry every team fight, you might want to peel for your carry instead. The good thing about Rammus' taunt is that it reduces the armor of the target, so taunting an assassin allows your AD carry to blow him up before he gets out of the taunt. Always be liberal with your ultimate, because the cooldown is incredibly short. With cooldown reduction from Golem Spirit and utility masteries, his ultimate is only a 50-second cooldown, so don't be afraid to use it frequently. As far as item builds go, I almost always rush Golem Spirit into Sightstone, typically keeping level 1 boots for a decent amount of time. Eventually I'll upgrade them to Ninja Tabby, or very rarely Boots of Lucidity if the enemy team is very heavy AP. Rammus doesn't have the best gold generation, so you have to be careful with your item choices, but generally speaking, if I'm looking for more damage and juggling clearing speed, I go for Sunfire Cape. If I'm looking for heavy armor defenses, I'll go for Randuin's. If I'm looking to be more of a team player, I'll go Locket for heavy AD teams, or Bulwark for heavy AP teams. If you get incredibly rich early on and you want to go out full out damage, try out a Rylai's and Leandri's build. It's a super expensive build for Rammus, but the damage is insane and Rammus scales incredibly well with just health items because of defensive ball curl. The best time to pick Rammus is against AD carries with no escapes, such as Draven, Misfortune, Varus, and Ashe, but he can still be a pain in the ass to the other AD carries as well. He also does really well against assassins that have to get off a bunch of spells to burst someone because his taunt is just so long. There are a few ways to counter Rammus, but it also ends up benefiting Rammus' team in some way. For example, all the carries are forced into taking Cleanse, Mercury Treads, or QSS. If you're a carry and you don't have any of those, you better believe your ass is getting taunted for 3 seconds every single team fight. The good thing about that is because the AD carry is practically forced into taking Cleanse, they automatically lose trades in bot lane because they don't have barrier. Another counter to Rammus is incredibly deep wards. For example, if you're blue side bot lane, warding your wraiths is extremely beneficial because you're able to see Rammus coming before it's too late. That being said, if you ward your wraiths and dragon, you're still open to lane ganks. Sometimes when I'm playing supporting at someone like Nunu or Rammus, I try to sneak a ward behind their tower when the enemy lane backs, but you have to be careful on your timing or you'll get picked off. The good thing for Rammus is that if he recognizes this, he'll just start camping another lane and all the extra money you spent on warding weird spots of the map is essentially wasted. And with that, I think we've covered just about everything. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to let me know and I'll make more videos like it. If it was too long or too short or I didn't talk about what you wanted me to talk about enough, let me know that too and I'll try to improve the format for future videos. As always, thank you all for watching and I'll see you all next time.